Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Last week, we did a presentation on real medicine, the science of Prophet's medicine. It turns out there were some questions that were raised, and I thought it would be helpful to follow it up with a Q&A session. So this is entirely based on the previous presentation we have made on Prophet's medicine. First question that was raised was, see, people understand that this whole pharmaceutical industry is a scam, and it's motivated by money and it's not useful, but they are not sold yet about antibiotics. They say, well, how about antibiotics? Because at least it works, right? The assumption is it works. Of course, it's not true unless the definition of what works is changed. So it's worth answering. It's to understand what will happen with antibiotic. We need to see what happened to modern era. We used to have everything. We call it the HSSA scheme. It's God's money-making scheme. We used to have honey. Honey represents everything natural. Even the process of making honey is 100% natural. And honey is a cure for mankind. In Surah Nahl 16, verse 69, Allah has said, this is the only material, Allah says, is secure for mankind. So that was honey, and it turns out honey doesn't make much profit. So first scheme was started with sugar. So sugar has natural source, right? Sugar cane is natural, but the process is not natural. So what happens at the end when you inject, well, dozens of toxic chemicals, including bleach and sodium hydroxide and whatnot, it becomes, the whole system becomes unnatural, artificial. Because the definition of artificial is either source of the process is artificial. So people start to notice that sugar gives you diabetes and all kind of other problems. But then what they do, like Shaitan always does, it comes up with something, another gimmick. They say, we have no sugar. So what is it? Saccharin. How is saccharin made? It's made from petroleum. So it's not, petroleum is natural, but it's not even food. So now we have from natural source, natural process to first natural source, but artificial process. Now we have natural non-food and artificial process. The saccharin. So what happens? Saccharin does not give you diabetes, but it gives you what? Cancer. So when that scheme was uncovered, so okay, we have a replacement. It will not give you cancer. What will do? What is that? Aspartame. Aspartame literally is a neurotoxin. It's a poison, very toxic poison that was created by the defense lab. It's the bioweapon. And that was circulated as replacement of saccharin, because saccharin gives you cancer. So what does aspartame give? It freezes your brain. That's why you cannot even, a pilot cannot have aspartame infested so-called Diet Coke or all this. So this scheme, as we progress from all natural to all artificial, the profit margin skyrockets. You make a lot more profit. So if you see that scheme, you would have no trust in anything that pharmaceutical industry gives you. So this degradation in medicine, this is the scheme. HSSA, progressively, it was original medicine. Everything was natural. Natural remedy was honey, black seed, herbs, hijama, 100% organic. That's the honey standard. So what happened first level? They started to add sugar, alcohol to extract the herb. So the process became tainted. Herbs are still herbs, natural herbs. right? But they added sugar, so it doesn't taste bad. So first, it's no longer 100% organic anymore. So it doesn't stop there. They started to extract those components that are useful by artificial process. So now the process became totally bad. And that isn't bad enough. All artificial, the source to the process, everything, those are synthetic. And you know, on prime example is vitamin C. Vitamin C, they claim that we're emulating lemon, right? Citric fruit. So what's wrong? It's ascorbic acid. With that scam, they sold billions of dollars. It was the most used drug, so-called chemical produced. But only in 2005, it was discovered that vitamin C gives you cancer. Real lemon juice or citric fruit prevents it. All of them made by Allah, another one made by Shaitan. Basically, that's the difference. Artificial and natural, they act differently. So if that's the case, and Quran makes it, that's the inductive logic tells us that artificial is not good. Even plastic is constantly guzzling dioxin. Anything artificial is never good for you. And Quran tells us in 1617, that's the deductive logic, that the one who creates and the one who doesn't can be the same. Right? And now we do not even distinguish between what is the natural or the artificial. We have natural artificial intelligence. Intelligence by definition is natural. How could that be artificial? It's just we're rendered into stupids. So this is the process. We have a state of health and you have a certain disease, the white one, and then all of a sudden you have disease, your health state is going down. If you cure that with natural medicine, the top one, then your final state is actually better than what you had. For instance, you got a disease, next time you would not catch it. You become immune to that disease, certain bacteria or whatever that is. So natural process works that way. Anything you catch, any disease you catch, you recover and restore your health to a better state than what you had before. Then another disease comes in and you again cure with natural medicine, then it goes on. On the other hand, then the red graph is showing if you use artificial medicine, your status, health state goes down and it reaches a steady state at a lower state. It is a sick state. Because what happens, you injected your body with toxic chemicals and your body will never recover from it, just like drugs. And you continue to take medicine, this time you have to take more potent medicine, or so-called medicine. So you have one antibiotic, next time that antibiotic will not work. You have to have another antibiotic and you literally destroy your liver and kidney. So that's the process. It's very clear that artificial medicine can never be used, antibiotic or any other. So there is this advice in Surah Hujurat 49:6. When a fasik, who is fasik? Bad guys. We all made an agreement that we will obey Allah, and that was our job, and we did not follow it up. That's called fasik. So when fasik comes to you, you should verify. So when literally people who are producing poison, selling poison to you, they come to you, this is a cure. At least you listen to Quran and say, how should I listen to you? I should verify it. And it's an obligation. And it's Quran is telling you. Then they say, so how about vaccine? It's possible that you cannot do without. Without vaccine, is it possible to be without? Like, they cannot fathom. So let's review what happened to the vaccine. The degradation in immunity boosters. We have natural immunity. When a child is born, you give azan. That's the intangible way to shield him, to prepare him to be Khalifa of Allah. And then tangibly, you give chewed date at birth. That is the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. Then we have mother's milk, we have honey, we have regular milk, the best food, we have organic lifestyle, natural immunization. Right? By being with nature. Everything was 100%. That's the honey standard. What happened with Dr. Jenner? He came up with this cup of serum, and he said, if you inject that, you develop immunity to smallpox. Oh, everybody was very happy. They did not, even Muslims did not question that when is it halal to inject something in your body? Can you do that? No. Yet that became the standard. Nobody questioned. But it doesn't stop there. Louis Pasteur started to manufacture vaccine in the lab. That means it is lab-made. It's not natural anymore. And it continues. The quality of vaccine completely became completely artificial. From low-grade poison to the high-grade, very high-grade poison. Literally, you're poisoning. Not only that, you are poisoning from childhood. From infancy, we have dozens of shots. So how could that be any good? So what happens when we face with the calamity? That's the next question, like sorrow, some disaster, the worry, wars, anxiety. How do you handle that? So the process is simple. You have heart, the headquarters, heart, the monarch organ. Wherever it is hurting, you report to the heart. And what is the emotion of heart? Aql. Aql will decide what's the best thing for you to do. Right? And of course, you know, in case of sadness, we have this dua. This Allahumma inni a'udhu min al-hammi wal-huzn. Allah, save me from, protect me from sadness and grief. Right? Prophet Muhammad used to do that. And who knows better than him? And what did he get it from? Quran says very clearly that we have dua in 1782, that we have sent down Quran, which is a cure. Right? And in Surah now 1669, Allah has said, honey is the cure for mankind. So if you combine the two, you have perfect solution. You make dua and you drink honey, no matter what disease you have. Then we have, in terms of dua, Prophet Muhammad actually recommended doing ruqya. It's not a very fancy, sophisticated thing. It's very simple. In Islam, everything is simple. Whoever makes it fancy and sophisticated, they are following dogma, and this is not Islamic. So all you do is recite the last three verses, the last three surahs of Quran, and blow on your hand and wipe your body. That's it. When Prophet was too sick to do that by himself, Aisha was doing that for him. Then you look at what emotion you're feeling. And if it is real, even if there's a reason for it, you treat your organs. So what is the sequence? They make dua, do ruqya, then honey. Then you do hijama. For sorrow, we'll place hijama cup behind your lung. For worry, behind your spleen. Anxiety behind your heart. Fear behind your kidneys. Anger behind your liver. Another question came up. And this person came to my page and recommended that I talk about hormone and different lymph node and all these organs. See, this is a typical problem in the modern age. You want to talk sophisticated and with complicated language so nobody understands. That way you feel that you are the only elite. Then people will come to you. This is the Roman Catholic Church mentality. You talk very complicated language and we say, oh, mashallah, he must be very good. But that's not Islam. So I responded by saying that those things are not Islamic. The delivery process in Islam, it has to be simple. Even a child has to understand, a Bedouin has to understand. But beyond that, though, it's not scientific. True science, for instance, Ibn Sina did not use these terms. In Chinese medicine, they don't use these terms. The blood and the lymphatic fluid, they don't take different paths. They are not separate paths. The whole thing is described with the meridian system, which I described in the presentation. But more importantly, we have to get used to delivering our speech, our message in a simple way. Because this has been missing ever since, I would say, last 400 years completely. But it literally started with the dogma people. There was a break during Prophet Muhammad's time. But after that, people talk complicated languages. And we had to break out of that. Just a final reminder, our Prophet Muhammad said, cure to ignorance is to ask questions. And these questions, however, have to be real. What is the real question? These are intended to please Allah, to find real knowledge. Doesn't matter who is going to benefit. You cannot have underlying assumptions in it. So be open and ask questions that will increase your knowledge, not increase your pride or increase your ignorance. And that completes this presentation.